You know, you guys kind of surprised me. Last video, we had a number of new bananas hop into the bunch. I don't know how you got here, but I'm glad you're here nonetheless. To you and everybody else, hi. I've missed you. On last week's video, we built Hogwarts and it was a really fun build. I mentioned then that I wanted to build Hogsmeade this time, and I did. Kinda. Obviously, like any of my other builds, I decided to take some liberties with it. I decided to give myself some build rules as well. All of my previous builds were nighttime builds. This one, I wanted to do something different. I also wanted to use the least amount of reference as possible. This build is going to be strictly out of memory and memory alone. I'm also going to complicate my life as much as possible and make it as detailed as possible. I've been told that people tend to like hard things. What kind of hard things? Well, that's for you to decide. I'm not going to judge. But before we start, and because YouTube hates it when I put this at the end, I'm going to play a game of reverse psychology. Please don't hit the like and the subscribe buttons. Don't listen to her. She thinks she's smart, but she's not. Jokes aside, I really appreciate every single one of you here. So let's get on with it. Let's start this build. Before we do that, and because we're not using any references, we have to remember what Hogsmeade is. Hogsmeade is the nearest town to Hogwarts. It's also where the students go to enjoy their breaks and spend most of their time there participating in the great tradition of capitalism. After all, trickle-down economics isn't just for muggles. Some notable locations in Hogsmeade include places like Honeydukes, Ollivander's, Dervish and Bangs, Zonko's Joke Shop, the silliest place on earth, Scrivenshaft's Quill Shop. Hold on, let's chop down these trees real quick. Okay, let's speed this up a bit. There are a few others, but the most recognizable of them is the Three Broomsticks Inn. There, students can enjoy Butterbeer. You too can enjoy Butterbeer. All you need is cream soda, butterscotch syrup, butter extract, and top it with whipped cream. Don't worry, I got you covered with that recipe. You're welcome. Because we're depending on memory to complete this build, we're going to be relying on how recognizable we can get the Three Broomsticks Inn to look. Also how closely we can match the vibe of the town. We know that there is a river that runs through the town, so we're going to start with making that river. We're also going to need the terrain to be as dramatic and as detailed as possible. It'll make things easier for us in the long run. This way, we'll only have to worry about making micro adjustments instead of adding a lot of drama. Now that we're happy with how the terrain looks, we're gonna have to do things a little differently than usual. We usually start every build by creating a blueprint of what we want it to look like. This time, we're actually gonna start by creating a map using roads. This way, it'll give us a sense of what the town is gonna look like. We're also gonna take the opportunity to plot out where the bridges are gonna be. And like we always do, any stairs or height adjustments that we need to make to a build are going to be done through stone walls and blocks. This build is going to need us to get really comfortable with doing that. All the roads in town are cobblestone, so we need to use this often. Our main focus currently is to complete the roads. Once we have the roads completed, we know where to put the buildings. I want every part of this build to be its own little cute diorama. I want it to be busy. I want it to look lived in and functional. I think I'm gonna add a cute little pier here. We've now completed most of the roads in Hogsmeade. We still have a few sections of road to build. These sections will lead to the bridges and the watermill that I'm planning on building. But for now, let's plot out where our buildings are going to be using the blueprint method. Look at all that delicious butterbeer. With all the buildings in town plotted, we can now start on the road again. Looking at the plan we drew at the beginning of the video, we know that this road is going to fork. This is why you should always start your build with a good idea of what you want things to look like. That advice is especially important if you ever decide to do a traditional type of diorama. You know, the ones that use glue and stuff. Yuck. I'm just kidding, those are a lot of fun to do and I recommend everybody do it at least once. For now, I'm going to show you how to build a watermill. Ta-da! Not too bad, eh? With all the roads for the town completed, we need to make them look better. We need to give them a bit more flair. In other words, this build needs more drama. I want to show you a cute little trick that I always use to make little accents that make things like bridges or ends of pathways look a little better. Start off by creating 2 short stone walls, and then just draw 2 roads where they end. That's it. The end result looks like this. cute, right? One of the biggest struggles with any build is how to deal with negative space. The way I see it, negative space isn't bad. However, there's a difference between negative space, a space that's meant to be empty, and dead space, which is a space that's wasted. To deal with the dead space here, I'm going to turn it into a farm. I'm also going to turn the second space into a market. Doing that is going to prevent the two spaces from looking awkward. Now it's time to work on the bridges. We're going to use the same method I showed you last video. If you need a quick refresher, stone walls and roads are your best friends. We should have done this earlier, but oh well. We're here now. And there we go. All the bridges are done. At this point in the build, it's always a good idea to take a look at everything you've done so far. It's just like any other piece of art. You need to take a step back. Doing so will help you see any problems with your scale, any problems with your spacing, or if your composition lacks balance. Let's take this build as an example. When you take a look at this piece and its composition, everything aside from the bottom left corner has pretty good balance. Composition-wise, I want that empty space, but I don't want it to be dead space. Luckily, I do have a solution to deal with this, but we're gonna get to it later. For now, let's just focus on the vertical space. That should be easy considering the blueprint phase is done. Since the bulk of the work has already been done, it should make things a bit easier for us to think vertically. All we need to do now is pull roofs on these structures and make it look believable. We have to consider function over form. same goes for windows. My trick for making believable windows, especially for houses, is to pretend that I live there. I wouldn't want to live in a place with windows pointing in weird directions or at weird things. So I think about how I would feel staring out of that window. I decided to turn the space in between the buildings into a neighborhood of sorts. A space that's far away from all the main roads where kids can go out and play. A communal space. Okay, I'm a little embarrassed about this, which is why I don't want to show you right away. Every time I install windows on objects, I collect the things I find interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I know you can clone the objects, but they just appear, okay? It's not a problem. You're a problem. I'm gonna turn that area into a pumpkin patch. Post-harvest, but still a pumpkin patch. Fear not, I has plans. I am so happy with the watermill. It turned out to be super cute. And with this, the town itself is done. And now we just have to go back and deal with the things that we skipped. After that, we're going to do the painting and the final touches. And we're almost there. Yay! Do you remember this dead space here? We're going to fix it now. I'm going to make it into a farm surrounded by an ancient stone wall that's all broken and old. This will do two things. It's going to let us keep the open space we want, and it's going to change it from dead space to empty space. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But we're going to come back and work on it some more. And of course, I have to include one of these in every single build. I find them really cute and they make sense functionally. Plus, I kind of want to show you how to make chonker trees. Thick trees. I'll call the tree Monsieur Chungus. Oh god. Even though we're making a daytime build, we're gonna add lights regardless. Even though they're not serving a function, it still makes sense to have them, because not having them doesn't make sense. It's unrealistic. This is where we decided to create the market. It's gonna be crude, but it'll serve its function. And now we're gonna make this farm look a bit more farmy. As for the pumpkin patch, I'm going for that mid to late season look where all the pumpkins have already been sort of harvested and placed on the ground for people to sort through. It's really too bad we can't place vines on the ground. I think it would have made the scene a lot more believable. I guess those are limitations I'm hoping the game overcomes with time. The game is scratching my itch to do physical dioramas, but I want more features. Anyways, let's keep going. Let's make this farm a bit more interesting. It's time to paint. Luckily, this build is going to be much easier to paint than the previous ones, because I knew from the start that we're going to be using a lot of stone walls and a lot of blocks to create the pathways and the roads. I decided to start with the correct color. This means we only need to make the houses wood and paint the roofs. Oh, I forgot to show you something cool. Last video, I showed you how to make a tiny cart that's being pulled by a thestral. I did kind of cheat it a little, so I want to show you the proper way to make one. You're going to need some clutter objects, and you're going to arrange them to look like one. This is still a bit of a cheaty way to do it. There is a better way to do it though. You're still going to use the same objects. You're just going to have to put them on a platform instead. It looks really good, right? You can also use the same method to make things like trains or cars. Maybe I'll show you more in future builds. The build is finally finished. Now we just take one last step back and see the whole thing. I love this part of any build. The part when you finally get to see everything come together. The part when you pause and say, it's finished. It took a while, but here we are. I can't wait to show you all the little details. But before we do that, I think we should check on Monsieur Ba. I'm a little concerned for him. You'll see what I mean. Monsieur Ba found his way to the farm. I've never seen him act this domesticated. It's usually around this time that he's hatching an evil plot of some sort. Maybe he's reminiscing about what could have been. A life beyond the supervillainy and the minions. Oh, who are we kidding? He's probably hatching a plan to bring his villainous plots from that specific farm to every table on Earth. I see what you're doing, Monsieur Ba. Your evil genius won't work on me. Anyways, this was such a fun build. I really enjoyed building it, and I really hope you enjoyed tagging along for the ride. I want to thank you all for your encouragement. It makes me want to do more of these complicated builds. I really appreciate all the likes and the comments and the subs. And I also really appreciate all the suggestions for next builds. I think I have a pretty solid lineup of things I want to do next. And even different fandoms that I want to explore, like Lord of the Rings or Cyberpunk. Tiny Glade, Night City, anybody? Anyways, enough teasing. If you like the video, hit the like button and maybe the subscribe button, but no pressure. Now, please enjoy the close-ups and the final look of the build. Thank you.